So, I wanted to talk about shadow work for a few minutes. I know that shadow work is a hot topic. Everybody is thinking about it, everybody is questioning it, everybody is trying to do it, everybody is tired of it. And yeah, I wanted to join in the conversation. I am the author of Sankofa Shadow Work, Diaries of a Diasporic Diviner. And it is, I feel, a unique and ancestral approach to shadow work. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about how this came to be and yeah, the work that I do because of it. So, if you have heard anything about shadow work previously, then you probably likely know that shadows are neutral, as in there's no like assigned value, good or bad. And I'm particularly talking about the shadow. I'm not talking about behaviors at this moment. I'm talking about a neutral shadow. And the imagery that made the most sense to me was actually looking at the definition of a shadow or how a shadow is actually formed. And so, if you have a direct flow of light, like the sun, for instance, or a light in your room, if anything opaque, if there is an opaque object that is blocking the light or in the path of the light, I should say, then a shadow is formed. And the shadow, of course, is the shape of the object that is in the light's path. And this process that I just described, of course, is very neutral. It's not good or bad. A shadow forms when something is blocking the direct flow of light. And when I think about light, which is like we all need sunlight to live, everything needs sunlight to live. When I think about love, which is like the most powerful energy in the world, and we all need that to live too. When I think about the divine, and it, however you experience or understand or interpret the divine, I just mean the source from which all life springs, which is vast. I think about our inherent connection to the source from which we came and what types of opaque objects or opaque understandings, stories, ideologies, systems of oppression kind of block the direct flow of light or our experience of love or our connection to the source from which we all come. And again, the shadow formed is neutral. When we're talking about people, of course, and moving into actions, behaviors, like the ways that these neutral shadows that have formed inform how we engage and move through the world, inform what we believe is possible or not, inform what we believe we can ask for, what we believe we deserve, what we feel we're entitled to or not. It informs our fears. These very neutral shadows, they shape so much. And so shadow work is the work of integrating those shadows. Well, I recognize many people describe the shadows as, and even I have at times described a shadow as the parts of ourselves that we have learned to hate or that we want to hide or that we, kind of make small, which I believe are true. I would argue that there are neutral shadows that result in behaviors that are generally, that could be applauded in our society. And I'm in the United States of America. And if not applauded, even if they're not applauded, there is still a reasonable explanation for how it came to be. And I'm not arguing that there's actually not a reasonable explanation. I am saying that doing my own Sankofa shadow work is what allowed me to recognize parts of myself that I thought were the most salient, were the most true, were the absolute representation of who I, Sarah McKeeba Days, am. And in doing my own Sankofa shadow work and divination and being with myself was like, oh, I thought that, for example, the hermit, the introverted, quiet, keep to myself me is the absolute truest me. And while I do like to keep to myself, I do like to read and feel the energy in the space. Those aspects of me are also actually the result of some opaque understandings blocking the light, blocking the direct flow of love, blocking the vantage point from which I understand myself. I don't know if this is making any sense at all, but the point I'm trying to make is that I feel like when a lot of people approach, or when you think about shadows, you think of what many of us would describe or associate as negative or harmful behaviors or actions or personality traits. And while those absolutely can and do sometimes be shadows, it is broader than that. It's more nuanced than that. It's thicker than that. There's more going on than, let's identify the things about yourself that you don't like. There's more going on than, let's identify the things about the people who made you, like your parents. Let's identify things about them that they don't like. The work of Sankofa shadow work requires that we go way, 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 way back. Way, way back in order to retrieve and bring forward. It requires us to go way, 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 way back and reframe, re-examine, reimagine. It requires us to unlearn. It requires us to have so much more grace and patience than this violent, white supremacist, patriarchal, capitalist, imperialist society that I was born and raised in teaches us how to hold for ourselves and each other. And this work is possible. The work of integrating the shadows, the work of shining the light so brightly that the shadows become sharper and more well defined, so that you get a clearer idea of what it is you're working with. It is the work of venerating ancestors, of being with the generations and generations and generations of those who came before us, who were surviving unspeakable horrors and who learned how to survive in the best ways that they could with the information, insight, wisdom, and perceived freedom that they had. It is dropping into the body. It is leaning into what Audre Lorde teaches us are the uses of the erotic. It means allowing yourself to feel and allowing those feelings to give you information. Allowing those feelings to help you get curious. Sankofa shadow work is a multidisciplinary approach as you can see, is informed by Sankofa, the Ghanaian symbol. Go back and get it. It is also informed by the Dakinga, the cosmogram of the Congo people, which is also a huge and integral part of hoodoo. This recognition that we're always moving through different life phases all the time. We are, the people who made us are, the people who made them are, everybody around us are. We're moving through phases of birth, life, death, rebirth. And because time is not linear in the way that the Western world wants us to believe, at any given time, any aspect of ourselves could be on a different part of the cosmogram, could be, there are some aspects of myself that I think are being just born right now, like they're crowning. And there are aspects of myself or my identity that have been being developed and nurtured all this time. There are aspects of myself, understandings, beliefs that are dying, and it's time for them to die. It's time for them to be laid to rest. And all these things are happening at once. So Sankofa shadow work is the work of holding those unique contexts in place while we examine all the ways that we have learned to survive systems that were never created for our survival, our well-being, or our divinity, let alone our humanity. Sankofa shadow work requires that we center children. Whether you have children or not, whether you are a parent or like a guardian of children or not, it is the centering of children, a demographic that we've absolutely all have been part of at one time, and a demographic you can tell how a society feels about anything and anyone based on how they treat children. And again, the society I was born and raised in, and I'm not talking about my unique, like the black communities that I have lived in or grew up in or been a part of who have cared for me and nurtured me. I'm speaking of the U.S. empire hates children, exploits children, harms, abuses, ignores children, gaslights children. And the truth is, you can't care for anyone if that's how you feel. You don't really care about yourself. You can't love nobody for real if you hate children. You can't nurture anybody. And I think that's really important because oftentimes I think shadow work sounds like a very, individual one-on-one solo process. And I'm not saying that you don't be in the trenches alone sometimes. There's a lot of solitude. There's a lot of isolation. There's a lot of separating oneself and also feeling like the things that you knew or the relationships that you knew would be around you all the time, though they're falling away because of the new understandings, because of the shifts, because of your own clarity around your shadows and how much those shadows informed how you showed up in relationship. All of those things are true. And also, as a Black person, as someone who descends from people who know, like, I am because you are, it's both individual and communal work. And it requires not just the centering of all the children who are alive now, but the inner children that we possess, the children that we were, the children that our parents were, the children that our grandparents, that our aunts and uncles and cousins, the children that our ancestors were. I want to say a big part of Sankofa shadow work is making the world safe for children. And a world that is safe for children is a world that is safe for all of us. So yeah, I think that's what I have. You should totally get my book, Sankofa Shadow Work, Diaries of a Diasporic Diviner. It is mixed genre. It includes folklore, channeled messages, divination, theory. It comes from my graduate thesis, which was entitled Come On in the Room, Afrofuturism as a Path to Black Women's Retroactive Healing. And it has evolved to explore how we might heal epigenetic trauma, how we might heal our ancestors and ourselves. Not even how we might, how we do it. How we do the work of healing backwards and forwards and dreaming into and manifesting worlds and realities and societies where we are all cared for, where we all have what we need, where we are safe, where we handle conflict like we know that we belong to one another. Yeah, check out the book. And if you're interested in talking or learning more about Sankofa shadow work with me one-on-one, you can click the link in the description and book a session of Sankofa shadow work divination. All right, that is all I have at this time. I will talk with you later. Bye.